Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey chapter 381. It is the second day of the week, aka the special beam cannon workout. I'm feeling very good right now, very excited for this workout. But anyways, to the main subject matter for today. Good and Evil Part 6. Animals. So there is a giant reason I wanted to discuss this, and that is because recently a very popular live streamer, Hassan Piker. I'm not a big fan of him at all, but I'd rather just talk less about him and more about the situation he got himself into, in which case he his audience found out basically that he electroshocks his dog to be a prop in his live stream. And as you can imagine, he doesn't like the idea of the good guy, nice guy being an actual asshole to animals. So today we were going to be talking about good and evil, specifically when it comes to animals, because inherently I believe that animals understand the natures of good and evil within them. It is like a sixth sense to them. So today we're going to be discussing a few things from that, as well as the other side of it, where you can see how people treat animals and how that is effective of them. Obviously, you can tell that they aren't necessarily a good person whenever they're treating the animal horribly, or the other way around, they're treating them well. And I would like to say this, and this is the only thing I'll say before I continue on, because I do need to discuss this for a moment. If you are a vegan watching this and this is about, and you believe that veganism is the ultimate disciple of good, whilst I do agree on the ethical side of veganism, I do not believe in the dietary side of veganism personally, because I understand that I just don't find it very personally undesirable, one, and two, I'm also more on the side of the environment. Having all the farms and things like that in order to make veganism a possibility is a detriment to the ecological systems of a lot of places anyway. So there is a trade-off regardless of which one you want to do. So I don't want to go into the veganism part of this. So I'll just leave it as vegans. You get your own you get your own episode some other day, because it's a whole other thing. But I'll give you that ethically speaking, yes, we would want to preserve the lives that we can. I don't think it's possible, personally, but I would like to agree that the way that things are handled should be handled in a better space. So I wanted to put that off to the side before we continue on, because although we can talk about the factory farms and how we eat and all that other stuff, that's kind of different. I'm talking more along the lines of animals like pets and stuff like that, like dogs and cats and stuff like that. So it may be even a little bit bigger, but we'll get into that and a few other things when we get to Mother Base.
All right, so started this day off with squats, which are pretty good. But anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. Good and Evil Part 6, Animals. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because in the popular news at the time when I made this, there was the entire controversy with Hassan Piker, a live streamer who got caught basically shocking his dog and making it so it would stay in a specific spot during his entire live stream. So obviously that turned into a giant shit show and an entire belief that this is wrong, and I truly believe it is. I don't think that, one, animals should be used as props. I think that is relatively a normal thing to think about. But two, also the idea of the shock collar as a device in order to use on dogs in particular is probably a more barbaric way of trying to train a dog in particular. It seems as though it is what would be considered a hefty shortcut in order to do something like that. Now, of course, I'm not going to do damn the entire idea, because I would say maybe a 1% idea of dog that might need it. That there is the occasional dog, but there are few and far between a use case, one, and two, more importantly, to be used just so that they can stay in one particular spot is quite quintessentially evil. And that's the main thing about it, really, is the evil aspect of it that a lot of people want to discard, because obviously this guy is their favorite streamer, so they're going to defend whatever he does, even though what he's doing is evil. And I think a lot of people can honestly or objectively say that it is not good, particularly because you're hurting or harming an animal just to prop them in a corner and so they can look good. I don't think there's anybody that would say that that's good at all. I don't think there's anybody that could say that in any type of fashion, even for like the dog or supporters. I mean, it's just ridiculous for even to do that. And that's the entire point of this video is the fact that the way that we treat animals is a nice canary in the coal mine to describe what is happening with you and your morality. If you are willing to harm other things that cannot speak or cannot do things like that, in particular animals, in order for you to have some sort of higher end vanity or whatever it is in order for you to have some semblance of control, then you are not a good person. It is as simple as that. You are evil. And now, obviously, there are levels to it because obviously, there are people who eat meat and things like that. That is a slightly different story than this, because obviously, if there is something that vegans get right, it is how animals are treated in those factory farms, and that is incorrect. If there is some level of respect that should be taken towards these animals, because they will be eaten, of course, there should be taken. It's just one of those things that doesn't happen, unfortunately. But that's one thing. But I'll talk about vegan some other day. When it comes to animals, particularly in pets and all this other stuff, you can really see it from early age. How they treat animals is really how you can see the seedings of either good or evil. And as well, on the flip side, I do truly believe that animals can sometimes interpret whether a person is good or bad. They can sense it within the person. Or generally speaking, they can understand if the person has a good spirit or a bad spirit. They can understand it inherently. Cats. Recently, I saw a post about a cat who's normally not a cuddling cat, cuddle up next to a person, and it is inherently understood that cats can sense if the person is sick or if they're very sick and about to die. It's one of those things that they understand it, even though they can't obviously articulate it into words. There are certain things that they can articulate. That's why you get the dogs that just like bark at certain people incessantly as if there is something wrong with them. There is a aura that they bring along to them that is a evil thing. And I think a lot of animals understand this. We even see this in movies and cartoons and TV shows where the animal helps the person out because they are a good person, or the other way around where they attack the evil just because they understand what the evil is. Now, of course, there's also training and all that other stuff that could go along with it. You're missing the point. The point is how you treat the animal. It will show how the person is in general. I think that most people would say the person that goes out to kill squirrels randomly or kill rabbits with no rhyme or reason or torture dogs and cats is obviously a bad person. There isn't necessarily much extra that's needed to happen with their morality case. Like, oh no, they might be good, but they just like torturing animals. Nobody in the world has ever said that. There is a level to it where, of course, there are like things like hunting and all this other stuff, which is a little different because that can be used as a way to population control, which I've alluded to before. But generally speaking, it's not necessarily a good aspect of their personality that's coming out through something like that. Not to say that people who hunt are evil, of course, inherently, but also as well, there is a level of evil that goes in something like hunting, which sometimes is fine. I think a lot of people are too worried about something like that because obviously just because something is evil doesn't necessarily mean it's the worst thing in the world. It is bad. It moves your meter down a little bit, but it doesn't mean that your entire overall meter is down. But generally, you will see the extremities of these things. In particular, when you are making an animal suffer is the main aspect of this, especially if they are getting shocked to become a prop.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed, none. Exercises skipped, also none. Got everything in, thankfully. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand here. Good and Evil Part
6.
Animals. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because I think inherently most people understand good and evil within the context of a animal slash pet that we see. And I think that a lot of people understand this intuitively. There is not necessarily a deeper way to put it other than we kind of already know. the asshole who does something to an innocent animal is an asshole regardless. Now, of course, there are people who go hunting, there are people who do other things like that. That, though seen as evil, can be actually useful depending on the population of what they're hunting, because that is an actual thing. Population control is real, but that's kind of a different whole other episode and a whole other thing. Like I said before, and I said it in the beginning, this is more for how you treat pets. The example of the helpless dog, the helpless cat, the helpless kittens, the lizards, the snakes, the weird exotic people things that people keep around for some reason or another, like tigers or monkeys, which is crazy, but I don't agree on those either. But still, regardless of what you think evil or not evil is, I think that we can inherently all agree that mistreating animals is not good, regardless. I think that that is on the evil side, and taking care of animals is on the good side. I think that people can kind of understand that. I think the best way to put it in an anecdotal evidence, or at least an anecdotal story that makes me think about this, is when I heard an article, or I read an article about a guy that ended up getting shot like 160 times by the police, and everybody was like, "What the hell happened?" Like, well, that's it, very excessive, of course. It comes to, what is it? Turns out that the guy who got shot 160 times ended up killing the canine officer and the dog itself. So he killed both of them. So immediately, once people understood that part of it, it wasn't enough bullets. It's crazy that we will put animals on a pedestal. For example, the entire John Wick series is literally about a guy whose dog got killed, and that's it. There are deeper things than the lores and all that, but the genesis of the story consists around a beloved dog that was murdered. And I think that people who inherently try to excuse the ill will and or malevolent actions towards a dog is terrible, and they should be punished and immediately looked upon as an evil entity, because it is simply, what do you do? Being neutral in this case is fine, because if you don't care and you won't do anything, you're fine. You are 100% neutral, and it makes sense. You are neither good nor evil. But if you defend the evil that goes on with things like animals, then you are evil in itself. Why would you ever defend any type of thing like that? It's very apparent. And if you don't believe that, if you do believe that everybody should, treat their own animals their own way, or whatever bullshit that you would like to excuse yourself with, you're just evil. That's fine, but just accept it. On the other side, if you are good and try to take care of animals as much as you can, if you give your dog a good life until, they get the ripe old age of however long they can live, and you've given them the best that they can, you have health insurance, or you have pet insurance, all the other things that you can do to make sure that the dog that you've gotten is living the best life it can, then you're fine. You're doing good. I think you're doing a better work than a lot of the people that out there that are doing absolutely nothing with their lives. I think that most people can agree that, if you treat a animal well, you're probably going to treat people well as well. It's very interesting that the demonization of somebody who may or may not be have other faults but yet treats animals well. I get it, I understand it, but I also understand that there are certain things that speak deeply more in tune with the soul, rather than something like, I don't know, fucking who you voted for, some stupid shit like that. When in reality, you could be a stout vegan and just truly believe in your heart's content that you don't want to see any harm to animals. And, I got to give them props for that one, honestly. So, and I don't even like vegans, but it's a whole other subject, like I said before. Inherently as well, and I think this might be a different subject matter, I don't know, but I've briefly discussed it probably, but inherently animals also understand good and evil. I think that they truly can smell the person and understand and look beyond the person and into the soul to see if the person is good or not. I really do believe it. You can see it a lot with with dogs, cats, just animals that have fear in their eyes whenever they see certain people, and other people that just, they're fine, they're just regular, or even just happy to see them even though they're a complete stranger. It's very interesting. And now obviously there are temperaments for for certain animals, of course, but I think that they subconsciously understand this. You probably also in the wild, there's probably some parallels in the, what is it, Cinderella, when the forest is coming to help her, as she is the good daughter of the stepdaughters or whatever the hell they are in that story. Inherently, nature is trying to help her at the end of it, not them, because they understand they are evil. That's why the animals come to her. In most stories, that animals come and help the good guy. They never really come help the bad guy unless it's a snake, but the snake, that is a whole other story. We'll talk about the snake on some other day. But because of that is a representation of evil. So we'll talk about snakes on another day. But generally speaking, if you're looking at animals of the forest, if they come to you, they seek for your help, you know? And I think we inherently understand this, but we choose to ignore it most of the time because it might be that sensibility of, oh, this animal fears me or is scared of me. Maybe there's something wrong with me internally that I don't see, or maybe I am somebody who is more evil than I expected. And that's, you have to deal with on your own and realize the things that where you are on the scale of good and evil, and what parts of you are evil and what parts of you are good. But we'll talk about more about what parts of good and evil inside of you in a different episode. But with that being said, tell me what you think in the comments section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. This was a continuation of the Good and Evil series, as I'm going to continue on and give you more and more thoughts about good and evil as I see them going on in the world, really. And a lot about animals too, but we'll get into a lot of little episodes from this in different episodes later on. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please, if you have any thoughts or opinions about everything I said, please leave it in the comments section down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy, stay safe out there, and stay warm. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace!